सुनने वालों को सराज ज़ैदी का बहुत बहुत प्यार भरा आदाब, नमस्कार and good afternoon. You're very welcome to the program. You're listening to Apna Radio, broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM. Indeed, another week, another news, another world to explore, to talk about, and to pay attention to what's going on in our lives. And of course, how can we forget the people who comes and goes in this world? So many things are packed in our program today, just like each week's. We are here until 4 o'clock local time and India time 8:30. Hopefully you can tune me in and enjoy the show, because today's show is full of information, as I said, full of information, full of news, full of pathos, full of all sorts of things, all sorts of things. That's what me, Apna Radio. It is Apna Radio, broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM each Thursday from 3 o'clock until 4 o'clock. Anyway, without further ado, I would take the news of the week, and Charmain is back in the hot seat. So Charmain, you take it away, and I will shut up and just will listen to you, what you have to say about the news of the week. So there you go.
I'm Charmain Colvin, and you are listening to Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM. On India this week, India's government has proposed that artificial intelligence and social media firms should clearly label AI-generated content to tackle the spread of deep fake and misinformation, prompted by similar moves by the European Union and China. With nearly 1 billion internet users, the stakes are high in a sprawling country of many ethnic and religious communities, where fake news risks stirring up deadly strife, and AI deepfake videos have alarmed officials during elections. The new rules require platforms to label AI-generated content with markers covering at least 10% of the surface area of a visual display, or the initial 10% of the duration of an audio clip, placing more responsibilities on the likes of OpenAI, Meta, X and Google. Social media companies will also have to obtain a user declaration on whether uploaded information is AI-generated, and deploy reasonable technical measures to ensure checks and balances, the Indian government's draft proposal said. The rules will ensure visible labelling, metadata traceability and transparency for all public-facing AI-generated media, India's IT ministry said, inviting suggestions from the public and industry by November the 6th. The potential for misuse of generative AI tools to cause user harm, spread misinformation, manipulate elections, or impersonate individuals has grown significantly, the government added. The rules about covering 10% of surface area are among the first explicit attempts globally to prescribe a quantifiable visibility standard, said Dhruv Garg, founding member at public policy research firm Indian Governance and Policy Project. If implemented, the rules will require AI platforms in India to build in automated labelling systems to identify and mark AI-generated content at the point of creation, he added. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman said that India was its second largest market by number of users, which has tripled in the past year. US President Donald Trump has reiterated that India has agreed to reduce its purchase of Russian crude. Trump said Indian PM Narendra Modi had assured him during a phone call on Tuesday that Delhi was not going to buy much oil from Russia, as he too wants to see the war end with Russia-Ukraine. Modi acknowledged Trump's call and his warm greetings on the festival of Diwali in a social media post, but didn't comment on Russian oil. Trump has made a similar remark last week, but the Indian Foreign Ministry said at the time it was not aware of any phone call between the leaders. On Wednesday, an official at the ministry said that it had no new comment on Trump's latest remarks. India became one of the biggest markets for Russian oil as Western nations shunned purchases and imposed sanctions on Moscow after the Ukraine war started in 2022. Delhi increased its imports and bought Russian crude at discounted prices, saying the decision was vital to provide energy security to millions of its people. Delhi also pointed out that many Western nations, including the US, continued to have trade ties with Russia. In recent months, US officials have accused Delhi of helping to fund Russia's war against Ukraine by continuing to buy crude oil, a claim that Delhi denies. The Trump administration has put both public and diplomatic pressure on Delhi to reduce its support for Moscow's energy market as part of efforts to economically isolate the Kremlin and push for an end to the war in the Ukraine. Oil and gas are Russia's largest exports, and Moscow's biggest customers include China, India, and Turkey. As part of this pressure, the US has imposed 50% tariffs, including an additional 25% as a penalty for buying Russian oil, on Indian goods. However, the US president's tone has softened in recent days as trade negotiations between the two countries progress. A report in the Mint newspaper suggested that a deal could be announced soon, and India may agree to gradually reduce its imports of Russian oil, citing 3 sources familiar with the matter. India's capital Delhi woke up to a toxic haze as air quality worsened after the Hindu festival of Diwali, despite a court directive to use less polluting crackers. People set off fireworks during the festival, which is also observed by Sikhs and Jains, until late on Monday, defying the court's order to use only green fireworks for a limited period of time. Delhi, which has high pollution through the year due to factors including vehicular emissions and dust, had already seen air quality dipping over the past few days. Earlier this week, the air quality index in Delhi was 360. The AQI measures the level of PM 2.5, fine particulate matter, that can clog lungs and cause a host of diseases in the air. Levels between 101 and 200 are considered moderate, while those between 201 and 300 are poor. Between 301 and 400, it's categorised as very poor, and a figure higher than 400 is considered severe. The WHO guidelines say that exposure to PM 2.5 over a 24-hour period should be limited to 15 micrograms per cubic metre, but Delhi's AQI in some parts is 24 times higher than the recommended level. The city's pollution problem becomes worse in winter as farmers in neighbouring states burn crop stubble. Low wind speeds also trap pollutants, such as those produced by firecrackers, in the lower atmosphere, making it hard to breathe. A man who was wrongfully imprisoned for more than 40 years is now facing deportation to India. After serving 43 years in prison for a murder he did not commit, Subramanian Subbu Vidam was finally free. New evidence had exonerated him earlier this month of the murder of his former roommate. However, before he could meet his family, Mr. Vidam was taken into custody by US Immigration and Customs Enforcement, who want to deport him to India, a country he has not lived in since he was a baby. Now Mr. Vidam's legal team is fighting a deportation order, and his family is determined to get him out of custody for good. More than 40 years ago, Mr. Vidam was convicted of murdering his once roommate, Tom Kinzer, a 19-year-old college student. In 1984, he was sentenced to a separate 2.5 to 5 years for a drug offence as part of a plea agreement. That sentence was to be served simultaneously with his life sentence. Although exonerated for the murder charge, his drug conviction still stands. The immigration agency said it acted on a lawfully issued order. And finally, tributes are pouring in for Indian actor Govardhan Asrani, who died this week at the age of 84. Asrani, popularly known by his last name, was suffering from a brief illness and died at a hospital in Mumbai city on Monday. Over a career spanning more than 50 years, Asrani acted in more than 300 films, mostly in comic roles. One of his most memorable performances was in the 1975 blockbuster Sholay, in which he played an eccentric jailer. And that's all from me. You are listening to Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM.
So thank you so much indeed, Charmain, for your lovely news item, as usual, informing the world what's going on in India and what's going on in trade between India and US and all the rest of it. I have a couple of stories, personal stories, that I have to, must mention it because you mentioned that in the news item. But as the last item you just mentioned, I think we all are saddened, and I'm particularly saddened by the demise of a very talented Asrani ji. Asrani, I grew up watching him. A lot of Indians grew up watching him. and his classic role in Sholay, as you mentioned in your news, was something that was, touched the heart of the nation. Asrani ji was 84 years of age, a good age, I would say. So the curtain falls on him, and he asked a depart, an adieu from the audience. But what a delectable individual he was, a thorough gentleman, a gentleman who has, made us laugh because he's known for his comic role, comedian, but he was a serious actor. And not many people know that he was a teacher of acting at the Pune Film Institute, where he was graduated from. So I would like to play a clip from Asrani ji's work of Sholay. Sit back, relax, and listen to him, and I'll talk about him after this clip.
मेरा जेलर बहुत खड़ूस है आ रहा है सर वो तो पहले ही से अटेंशन है
अब जानते कैदियों कान खोल कर सुन लो हमारे आने से पहले जो कुछ इस जेल में होता रहा है वो जब तक हम हैं नहीं चलेगा नो हम अंग्रेजों के जमाने के जेलर हैं आजकल के जेलरों की तरह नहीं जो कैदियों को सुधारने की फिक्र में लगे रहते हैं हाँ हम अच्छी तरह जानते हैं तुम लोग कभी नहीं सुधर सकते हो अरे जब हम नहीं सुधर सके तो तुम क्या सुधरोगे हैं? हम जानते हैं आजकल हमारी बातों को पसंद नहीं किया जाता इसीलिए हमारी हर जगह से कुछ दिनों में बदली हो जाती है देखिए हमारी इतनी बदलियों के बाद भी हम नहीं बदले हाँ इसलिए याद रखो ये मत समझना कि जो कुछ तुम करते हो उसकी खबर हमको नहीं मिलती हमारे जासूस इस जेल में चारों तरफ फैले हुए हैं घड़ी घड़ी की रिपोर्ट हमको मिल जाती है हमारे जाने बिना यहाँ परिंदा भी पर नहीं मार सकता ये क्या
परिंदा हुजूर कबूतर
निकालो अच्छा जाने दो आज के लिए इतना काफी है अब तुम लोग जा सकते हो चलो
बड़ा अजीब आदमी है
Yeah, मेरे भाइयों, that was Ajeeb Aadmi. Indeed, he was an Ajeeb Aadmi because that was Asrani in the film Sholay. Now, Sholay is one of the cult movie of India. It's a really classic film starring in comic role Asrani and, of course, our beloved Jagdeep Sahab as well, whose son Javed Jaffrey and Navid Jaffrey was here at the last film festival that I conducted last month, and they were here as my festival guest. So the industry individuals, particularly people like Asrani, people like all the sort of like so-called comedians, so-called classic actors who are character actors, are being when they perform, they really do win the hearts and minds of the people of the nation, should I say, worldwide. And we all grew up watching these characters, not to mention the superstars and the stars of the film festival that I try to actually bring every year. But this is something was really close to my heart when I heard about Asrani ji. And I heard from Anupam Kher Sahab. Kher Sahab has shared his video, his reel about Asrani ji, and talked about it, the sad demise of Asrani, how he particularly, was very, very, very talented man. Done almost about 140 to 200 films, in fact. He was the one who actually, during the time of Mr. Bachchan, who was trying to actually get into the industry, used to ask Asrani to, talk about my work and canvas about my work to, to the directors, the Bengali director. I think it was a film 𝐬𝐿𝐷 that they were talking about that. And Asrani actually did ask 𝐸𝐿𝐷 Mukherjee, in fact. 𝐸𝐿𝐷 Mukherjee was the director of the film 𝐬𝐿𝐷. Anyway, he did mention that to Rishida, that yes, she is also a graduate from the Pune Film Institute. And Rishida went to Pune Film Institute and asked Asrani ji that can you introduce me to 𝐀𝐩𝐧𝐚 ji. So Asrani went to 𝐀𝐩𝐧𝐚, who was in the canteen, and he said, hey, listen, 𝐀𝐩𝐧𝐚, Rishida was asking you about. So that's the kind of contemporary he was. And he was responsible for both 𝐀𝐩𝐧𝐚 ji and Mr. Bachchan to get a break in the industry. So a thorough gentleman, what can I say? I mean, he was one of those best, known for his comic role, but serious role as well. But anyway, this is something that is very, very, very sad news that he passed away and he left us with his memories. But I wanted to just mention this point because this is exactly what I wanted to plan for. And hopefully I will hear more and more about him because everybody is sharing the reels, everybody is sharing the news, everybody is sharing all sorts of information about Asrani ji. So this is something which is very interesting. And now it's time for some interesting news from Sharad Awasthi. Sharad is talking about our London correspondent, talking about the railway system in India. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this piece of news.
So it's a machine of modernity. Clocks in villages and city would not have been unified, instead use the sundials, and the notion of the global time zones would not have existed. Without it, the world would have lacked the first truly synchronized systems, a network that taught humans to measure time collectively, to manage logistics at a scale never seen before, to move in rhythm. Cultural diversity too would have remained largely local. Towns would have stayed insular, unvisited, unchallenged by the arrival of strangers and ideas. Migration would have been limited only to explorers, adventurers, and elitists. Engineering innovations would have lacked. We would be still living in the 18th century crucible. The metallurgical development, civil engineering, infrastructure designs, scheduling, safety systems, and then later on electricity, telecommunication, they would have been still in the 18th century. Without it, industrial organization would have remained fragmented. The modern factory systems and the science of systems management might have arrived centuries late. In its absence, the world would have remained a slower, smaller, and a more divided place. One where distance still rules destiny. You guessed it, we are talking about the railways. Yes, today we are celebrating 200 years of railways. The art, the science, and the philosophy of railways, which transformed humans. Rather, it helped humans evolve at a higher pace than the Darwinian theory would have predicted. The railways, by contrast, has dethroned geographies, compressed time, and trained humanity to think in a concept of networks. Without railways, the modern mind, disciplined, connected, and restless, might never have been born. Had the railway not been discovered in the September of 1825, humanity's trajectory would have been profoundly slower, not merely in speed, but in evolution itself. Therefore, in its celebration, we are saying that railways are not just a machine of transport, but a gigantic step in the development of human civilization. And in this celebration, we explore quickly how rail has evolved and how it has shaped diversity from Tokyo to London, from Mumbai to New York, how it eradicates inequality with freedom. For example, look at Mumbai, how people from various states, especially Tamil Nadu in the 60s and 70s, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, they have changed the economics of Mumbai. Today, nearly 1,000 families, as I'm told, they make Mumbai their home every day. And how Punjab has changed the genesis of Bollywood. They have all come from various parts of the country into one destination, Bombay, Mumbai. So Mumbai has turned into a mass urban culture, not only for India, but for the entire world. Mumbai railway network runs some 3,000 trains daily, and it actually serves, it mixes social, economically 75 lakh passengers daily. Enormous sea and ocean of people move in and out of Mumbai every day. It's a backbone of metropolitan mobility. It's a backbone of regional integration, and it knits together vast regions. Not only in Mumbai itself, it is enabling migration, trade, and of course access. The history suggests the economic trajectory of Mumbai is vastly different and high-paced from the rest of the country. The discipline in the professional services is more organized in Mumbai because everybody in Mumbai have been tuned to a regulated and scheduled time run by railways. So in short, it has enabled mobility of labor, it has supported unified market, it has brought culture together, it has created diversity only to be positively contributing to India and to the world. Look at the Japanese train model. It is all about speed, integration, and intellectualism. How? In case of Greater Tokyo area and broader Japanese rail network, the railway system is deeply embedded into the daily life, and it has an institutional culture. The network carries about 40 million trips a day in this 2,500 kilometers of track in the Tokyo region alone. And if you look at Shinkansen, the bullet train system, it has cut the travel time between Tokyo and Osaka, which was 8 hours then, to about 2.5 hours now. And what it has done is it has created a fast track corridor carrying about 350,000 Japanese and travelers daily. More so, the Japanese railway have brought in a culture of punctuality, of reliability, only to be copied and carried and emulated across the world. And talking of reliability, we should also be talking about the German and the French railways. The high-speed train between Berlin and Munich, it has reduced the travel time from 6 hours to 3.5 hours. So it's an integration of north and south of Germany. Not only has it carried people quickly and comfortably, it has supported regional wage equalizations. And over time, there is a great cultural mix between these formally separated regions of Germany. But then there is a deeper meaning to these railways. In the mid-19th centuries, these rail lines began knitting together the territories of not only Germany and France and the European countries, which were then or even now separated by mountains, languages, and war histories. These railways have bound together. Example, Paris and Brussels line in 1846, when we were fighting the first Battle of Mutiny, the Vienna-Prague-Berlin corridor, and later on, in the imagination of human history, human integration, we come across Orient Express, which connected Paris to Istanbul. And this is not just commercial route, they were social corridors through which people, goods, and habits moved. Very few people would realize that the tulip gardens of Netherlands, the tulips, are originally from Turkey. So it's an integration, it's a movement of habits, and made possible by rail travel. And the Europeans to only experience what other societies have, something which everyone should see beyond the abstractions of diplomacy. So post-World War, we see the trans-European railway network coming together, and still further we see a high-speed link like Thalys, Eurostar, ICE, TGV. They are connecting European cities and capitals, and ultimately, in short story, we see a European Union born. an integrated powerhouse, economic powerhouse, a cultural powerhouse, a social powerhouse born out of the integration which started much earlier in the 1850s. That is the strength the railways have given as a machine, as a tool to the human civilization. So overall, if you see, what was just a method to move coal from one place to another, some goods, farming produce from one place to another in Stockton to Darlington in United Kingdom, it has transformed the entire societies, giving humanity a freedom of choice. The presence of rail networks have expanded human senses, where you want to live, where you want to work, whom you want to meet, and how you can move. From Mumbai locals to high-speed trams in Japan and Germany, to intercity where students can cross over from the territorial boundaries to achieve their study goals. Remote communities joining hands with the mainstream of the nation. Railways have created human geographies. In India, post-colonial legacy, the aspirations of the country has been only enabled by the presence of railways. Therefore, if India has to make itself stronger, it has to invest in cheap, comfortable, fast railways. If it has to compete with the global forces, it has to make mobility of Indians and the Indian ideas easier and faster. If India has to stay peaceful with its neighbor, it has to open many more railway corridors with countries like Pakistan and Bangladesh. Because that is when people of both countries will just cross over like they do in Belgium and France, Belgium and Netherlands and Germany, just to go for shopping, just to go for celebrations, to eat out, just to go and watch football matches. We want to go to Lahore to watch the cricket match. Many from Pakistan want to come into Amritsar or New Delhi. If India has to be stronger, we have to invest in this human space, because with more travel comes more wisdom, and with that comes more intellectualism. So there is this famous Chinese proverb. It says, it is better to travel 10,000 miles than to read 10,000 books. With that inspiration, with that celebration, I leave you until next week. Stay safe, stay informed, keep traveling, and dutifully ask questions. Bye for now.
Indeed, it is Dublin South FM, and you're welcome to the program. You're very welcome back to the program, should I say. And what a beautiful information that Sharad has put together about the railways and the railway industries all around the world. And India's railway is basically one of the largest railway networks in the world, but is not as efficient as the Japan, as TGV in France, in Germany, and China even. Why? Because over the years since we got independence in 1947, the investment in the railway journeys and the railway system has not been as great as it should be. And the corruption in the railway industry has always been very high. So India requires that kind of upgrade. And my experience of traveling in Indian Railway has been in my childhood when I was a student in India, living in Lucknow. Traveling to, in fact, I've traveled from city to city, not too many cities, but Lucknow to Delhi, Delhi to Allahabad, Lucknow to Allahabad, Allahabad to Aligarh, and all those UP, wherever my connections were with my family. Once I've taken the journey, would you believe, from India to Pakistan via Punjab, via Amritsar. And that was some journey, I must say that, crossing the Wagah border and things like that. So it was an amazing experience traveling, as Chinese proverb says that, change is as good as rest. And in fact, the change of scenery is as good as rest as well. Because, reading a book is fair enough. It expands your brains. And you do learn a lot of things about reading a book. But at the same time, if you travel those who go travel by train, they learned a lot about people, about the culture, about, interacting with the local peoples and things like that. The Indian Railway has got unique, in fact, atmosphere. And I've heard, I've left India about 40 years ago, so I don't really know what's going on right now, but I've heard and seen bullet trains now in operation from Mumbai to Gujarat, to Baroda and Ahmedabad. And and a luxury train called Palace on Wheels, just like Orient Express has been mentioned in the program. The Palace on Wheels, which is from Rajasthan to Delhi, an amazing, luxurious train where you can get the sumptuous meal, wonderful coaches, butler service, bearer service, and all that. So fascinating experience. If you can do that, why not? And you should do it, because traveling from A to B will educate you. Mumbai, I've had a fortune of traveling in Mumbai locals, not now, but years and years ago, when the first time I went to Mumbai while I was in drama school in London, I managed to go to Mumbai just to meet people, just to visit film studios and things like that. And it was an experience for me. It was tough because it's not easy to travel among the millions of people. And, the dhakka mukki, the people pushing and all that. But still, the people were very, very civilized, I must say that. They were very helpful. But sheer volume of people, 2 million people commute every day from A to B in Mumbai. It was an experience, to say the least. The railway network in India requires updating, upgrading, and investment. And Modi ji has done a great job, I must say that, and give credit. But where the credit is due must be given, and that lies to the British people who connected India. And the two things British have given to India: A, the English language, and they dotted around the Christian colleges, Christchurch College, Convent College, and all of the English medium schools that we are all byproduct of that. And then they have given railways. Railways is another interesting network that British have invested and connected. Do you remember those locomotives? The one which has been seen in the films, that the live fire has been thrown in the engine, and the engine will spit out a massive amount of smoke, and a black smoke will pollute the air of the places where the train will pass through. And a huge smoke will come out from the railway chimneys, and the engine, all of that is gone. Now electronic systems, electric train, all of that is there. Anyway, talking about the railway system, that is fantastic development in the world, and we must catch up. Timing is also the efficiency of railways here in Ireland, and indeed in the UK, the next door neighbour, is also very efficient, I must say that. The railway ministers would resign if the train is running 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late, which is a shameful thing for India to learn from places like UK, that the railway minister would resign there and would take it as his failure not to monitor the timing. Anyway, that's a big issue, and we'll certainly reserve back ourselves and return back to this topic, because other topics are happening. But I must take a break, an ad break, and I'll be back as soon as I have this ad break.
Broadcasting from the Dundrum Town Centre, this is Dublin South FM.
Are you part of a local community group or representative organisation active in the Dun Laoghaire-Rathdown area? Why not join a network of over 400 such groups in the Dun Laoghaire-Rathdown Public Participation Network? You can join the group, influence local policy, get regular updates about funding and other opportunities, connect with other groups like yours, publicise your group, and even get free training and support. Make sure your voice is heard through DLR Public Participation Network as a registered group in the county. Dun Laoghaire-Rathdown Public Participation Network. For full information, find us online at dlrppn.ie. That's dlrppn.ie.
Indeed, that is dlrppn.ie is the local number. And you can join your group if you are a local voluntary group and non-profit making and all that. Anyway, talking about the world, the globe, and the passion. Oh, yes, the presidential election. How can I not talk about this tomorrow? In fact, we are electing our 10th president of this country. The choice is not very great. Only two ladies are contesting, Heather Humphreys and Catherine. They belong to two different political parties, Fine Gael and Sinn Féin party. So why there is two candidates? Because there had been, a huge controversy about the people who nominated themselves. And first time, in fact, one of the biggest parties in Ireland called Fianna Fáil does not have any candidate whatsoever. It was up until 2 weeks ago. There was a candidate called Jim Flavin, and then Jim has been withdrawn. So only two candidates, and those who have seen the debate which took place on Tuesday night are kind of a bit disappointed by the fact that there isn't no real, head-on, debate about the presidency. Of course, the Constitution says that the president has no power, just like Indian Constitution, Ireland does not have, but it's symbolic. And all the indications are saying Kathleen Connolly is the one which is going to be the winner, because Heather Humphrey has rather came out very poorly when it comes to the debate and the kind of tactics she's been throwing at Catherine Connolly. Now, Catherine is a woman of substance. She traveled the world. She traveled Syria. She's, involved with many serious issues. And certainly I'm sort of like, I'm not canvassing for her, but I'm saying the disimbalance between the two candidates is huge. And Fianna Fáil have no candidate. Fine Gael has got, Fine Gael being a ruling party, would have this candidate called Heather Humphreys. Now, Heather and myself met a few times socially, and she is very well versed with the community, the outside Dublin, outside, you would have her meeting to the country people and things like that. So she has a bit of influence, but not as savvy as Catherine Connolly. Anyway, remains to be seen. The results will be out following next week, I would say. If the polling goes well on Friday, the results will be back on Sunday, latest, I would say, or Saturday, Sunday, I would say. But anyway, that is one issue. The other issue that I would like to talk about is the Indian students who come to Dublin to study, and particularly to private colleges such as DBS, which is locally known as Dublin Dabba Bartlywala School. Why DBS, Dublin Dabba Bartlywala School, is because its reputation all over the world, and particularly in India, is because in India people don't know. The country is so vast. They go to recruit students. They set up their shops in a 5-star hotel, and they lure the families and the people to sell the master courses, the 1 year business courses, or that sort of courses at a huge cost. I mean, talking about 14,000 euros per annum. Please, hello, 14,000 is a lot of money, like 14 lakhs, 15 lakh rupees, plus the living cost that goes over and top of living in Dublin, which is not a cheap city to live. All of that makes it, Dublin DBS, as they call themselves, Dublin Business School. But I have absolutely no respect for the school in a way that they do not provide the kind of assistance they should give. And it's a commercial school. In fact, they have right to make money. And this is a world we live in. Indeed, if you have any business, education has become a business in India and abroad as well, in Dublin as well. India has also got private universities. India has got so much good education. Why parents are sending their students, risking themselves to living in a private accommodation, because the DBS does not provide any particular on-campus accommodation. There is no security as such in those private places. And indeed, I have a very sad news to share today with you, to listeners. A gentleman, a young boy called Ruman Ahmed from my hometown, Lucknow, was found dead in his room, in his apartment. The cause of the death, the postmortem is going on right now, so we don't really know, but looks like it was a heart attack. But mysteriously, this young man has passed away. Recently joined all the way. I mean, look at the status of their parents, his brothers, and his family, who is grieving this young man's passing. And indeed, yours truly had been a little bit helpful to the family by identifying the steps of repatriation of his mortal remains, back to India, which is not an easy task because it's very complicated. The police is involved, the guards are involved, the Indian embassy is involved, the forensic, the forensic people who are who identify and who do postmortems, the medical is involved, and all of that takes a time. And then the transportation of remains of one person to it. It's a heartbreaking situation. It's a heartbreaking situation for the family and for the community itself. And it's not the first time it happened. The community has lost quite a lot of students here who come over here to study in the hope that their career will flourish when they return home, and in the hope that they might stay here. That's a lure for 2 years, because the visa, student visa, promises a 2 years working visa afterwards, so they're allowed to work in Ireland. It wasn't the case before. Now it has become a commercial operation, a business, a really brutal business. Although people do in the hope that they could, achieve a good degree and learn. And the man was, was enrolled in master's course of AI. In fact, that is the future of the technology and all that. But this deceased individual, my heart goes out to the family. My heart goes out to deep, sad condolences for the family. Anyway, that's life. As I said, the people go away. And talking about Asrani ji's passing away, there is a sher. Sher means a couplet coming to my mind, and that is "Maut uski ke jis pe zamana kare afsos, यूं तो आए हैं दुनिया में सभी जाने के लिए." Indeed, the translation is anybody who passes away. Sometime the important person, if the world is mourning that person, then is considered to be a rather worthy going. Otherwise, everybody who comes to this world has to leave one day. We don't realize that because we are so hopefully fit and healthy and young and all that. But one day we all have to leave this world sooner or later, because in our scripture, in our holy scripture, Quran says that twice, in fact, talk about death. And I always talk about that at the various occasions. It says that كُلِّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةَ الْمَوْتِ, and that's a surah in Quran. كُلِّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةَ الْمَوْتِ means that everybody will taste the taste of the death. Everybody will taste the death. And the other place, it also says that Surah Al-Baqarah, it says, the second surah, it says that Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We come from him and we return back to him. So on this morbid note, I would take a little track and just to cheer you up with the mood, I've chosen a few songs, and sit back, relax, and enjoy this track. And I'll be back talking about some other issues.
तरह आशिकी का असर छोड़ जाऊंगा, इस तरह आशिकी का असर छोड़ जाऊंगा, इस तरह आशिकी का असर छोड़ जाऊंगा, इस तरह आशिकी का असर छोड़ जाऊंगा। तेरे चेहरे पे अपनी नजर छोड़ जाऊंगा, तेरे चेहरे पे अपनी नजर छोड़ जाऊंगा, इस तरह आशिकी का असर छोड़ जाऊंगा, इस तरह आशिकी का असर छोड़ जाऊंगा। तेरे चेहरे पे अपनी नजर छोड़ जाऊंगा, तेरे चेहरे पे अपनी नजर छोड़ जाऊंगा। मैं अपनी तुझ पे लुटाऊंगा, दिल के लहू से तेरी मांग सजाऊंगा, तेरे चेहरे पे अपनी नजर छोड़ जाऊंगा, इस तरह आशिकी का असर छोड़ जाऊंगा, इस तरह आशिकी का असर छोड़ जाऊंगा। तेरे चेहरे पे अपनी नजर छोड़ जाऊंगा, तेरे चेहरे पे अपनी नजर छोड़ जाऊंगा। समझते हैं मैं तड़पता रहूं, तुझसे कुछ ना कहूं, बिन कहे भी मगर मैं तो रह ना सकूं। इस बेखुदी में आखिर कहाँ चैन पाऊंगा, मर के भी मैं तुझसे जुदा हो न पाऊं। तरह आशिकी का असर छोड़ जाऊंगा, इस तरह आशिकी का असर छोड़ जाऊंगा। तेरे चेहरे पे अपनी नजर छोड़ जाऊंगा, तेरे चेहरे पे अपनी नजर छोड़ जाऊंगा।
Kumar Sanu is with me today, and Kumar Sanu's 90s hit are the one which I'm playing it today. So, Tere Chehre Pe Is Tarah, beautiful song, beautiful words. You know, the people who leave this world sometime, and of course, I'm talking about two individuals this week who left this world. It is fascinating to see that how their departure impact on the people who are left behind, and that is one of the irony of life, is that you are actually the people who left behind are the one who have to cope with the loss of that. I have personally experienced the loss of my dear one as well, my late wife, who left us 6 years ago, and indeed I'm still not recovered from her loss, but I've met wonderful people, in fact, after her departure from this world. And of course, the loss of herself to our family, to my boys, to myself, is very much dear to my soul, to my heart, and all that. And I can never sort of recover from this kind of loss that is very personal. Although our togetherness, I would say, was pretty short. Not too long. It was only 19 years, but that was long enough that to have a life with somebody. And then not all of a sudden, she was ill, and the treatment dragged on for 5 years. Anyway, I don't want to dwell into that anymore. I like to move on, and I would like to request of the people who have lost their loved ones is to move on, because that is the biggest treasure you can give it to the soul of the departed person. He doesn't want to see, or she doesn't want to see you upset forever. Yes, it's a loss. It cannot be replaced by that. But it's hard for the parents, it's hard for the brothers and sisters, family to lose. I don't know much about Asrani's family, but Asrani ji's family. But I would request them to be brave and to come to the terms of the life, because each day, once you leave the bed and you get up in the morning, it's a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from God, to give you a healthy and a peaceful life, a productive life that you can actually achieve better and greater things. Whether you are studying, whether you are in business, whatever you do your best in that day and in that week, in that year, and so on and so forth. That's the life. And you hope for the best. You hope for the world that would live peacefully. And I'm a man of a peace, because I do believe in the world of peace, not war. And that was the theme of my film festival this year. Peace in the world, make films, not war. Hopefully, I'll talk about that next week, because there's a lot of things going on in Gaza. The violence has been returned back to Gaza, and the peace process has been so-called peace process, which Donald Trump had tried to hoodwink the world by hoping that he might win the Nobel Prize, because he can cosmetically create a peace in Middle East. He cannot create a peace. You cannot create a peace in Palestine by eradicating the nation from the uprooting the nation in the last 2 years by carpet bombing, by continuously bombing, and the world just sat back and watched that obliteration of the nation. A Muslim nation, Palestine, has been obliterated from the piece of earth. And who's going to visit now? Kushner, Jared Kushner, his son-in-law. Perhaps he's given a gift to his daughter and to Jared Kushner, Palestine as a state, as the kings and queens used to do it in the past, to give him the entire state. that he can build a Riviera, he can build luxury apartments there and own that. Not a chance, because the people of Palestine own Palestine, and hopefully the Palestine will remain for the people of Palestine, the repatriation of people who are living in neighboring Egypt, Jordan, and rest of the world will come back and claim from river to the sea their own nation, Palestine. Two-state solution, maybe, but nobody's talking about in Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu is not talking about two-state solution. It's only talking about one state, and that is wiping out the Palestine. But not a chance. Not a chance, pal. It's not going to happen. Anyway, I will leave you for this beautiful song, and I'll be back same time, same place next week. Hopefully, you will enjoy the show and enjoy the weekend. Have a good time and be kind to other people. Thank you very much indeed for listening. Bye for now.
यादें तेरी तेरा ही ख्याल रहे, दर्द सताए बुरा हाल रहे, ऐसा पहले तो कभी भी ना हुआ, कैसे तूने मेरी धड़कन को छुआ, पल पल दिल बेकरार रहे, मुझे बस तेरा इंतजार रहे, इंतजार रहे। उलझन ये मेरी कोई सुलझाता नहीं है, उलझन ये मेरी कोई सुलझाता नहीं है, एक तेरे सिवा कोई और मुझे भाता नहीं है, कहीं मुझे प्यार हुआ तो नहीं